There's a significant difference between painting trees in oils and painting them in acrylics, and most artists don't realize that this difference is often the reason their trees never quite feel convincing. One of the greatest advantages of oil paint is its ability to create soft, natural transitions between leaf clusters. Because the paint remains workable for a much longer period of time, you could blend neighboring shapes together and build subtle variations throughout the canopy. This allows the tree to feel fuller, more atmospheric, and more realistic. Oils also make it easier to use glazing and layered color shifts within the foliage. Instead of seeing hundreds of separate leaves competing for attention, the viewer perceives a unified mass of foliage with depth and structure. The result is a tree that feels less cluttered, less noisy, and far more believable. Of course, acrylics have their own strengths as well. Their fast drying time allows you to work much more quickly, making them ideal for artists who prefer a faster paced workflow. Because each layer dries rapidly, it's often easier to keep track of your brushwork and clearly see what has already been established. This can make the painting process feel more organized and approachable, especially for beginners. Ultimately, the goal isn't to determine which medium is superior. The key is understanding the strengths and limitations of each one and adapting your techniques accordingly. If you'd like to learn more about painting trees with acrylics, I've created several tutorials on the subject. You'll find links to those videos in the description below. Let me show you a demonstration of how I approach painting a tree in oils. As I begin, you'll notice that my overall strategy is very similar to the way I paint trees in acrylics. I'm starting by blocking in large clusters of color to establish the primary shape of the canopy. At this stage, my brushwork is loose and somewhat arbitrary. My focus isn't on details yet. I'm simply trying to establish the major masses and determine how the light will interact with this left side of the tree. I'm also intentionally leaving gaps between some of these clusters. These openings will create pockets of air and light within the canopy, preventing the tree from becoming one solid, dense shape. I want this first layer to remain relatively thin because many additional layers will be built on top of it later. Next, I switch to a darker green and begin painting the leaf clusters that will be hidden from the direct sunlight. Most of these shadow masses are concentrated on the right side of the tree, but I also weave some of them into the illuminated areas. This helps create large indentations and deeper recesses within the canopy, giving the tree more dimension and structure. Now that the canopy has been established, I spent some time indicating the main branches. At this point, I'm not concerned with capturing every detail. Instead, I simply want to establish their general placement and overall form. It doesn't matter whether the previous layer is completely dry, because right now I'm focused on developing the underlying structure rather than refining the surface. With the major forms in place, it's time for the most labor-intensive part of the process. The previous layer is still wet, but that's actually an advantage. Later on, we'll use that wet surface to blend everything together. For now, I'm covering the canopy with countless small marks and smudges. These represent the shadows, openings, and subtle variations that naturally occur throughout the foliage. If you waited for the layer to dry, that's fine too because you'll be blending all these subsequent colors anyways. Next, I switch to a slightly lighter green. While it's still dark enough to maintain the shadow structure, it allows me to introduce additional contrast and variation within the brighter sections of the tree. As you apply these marks, try to keep them as random and organic as possible. Nature rarely follows a predictable pattern, and your brushwork should reflect that. Within the darker areas of the canopy, I do the opposite and begin adding brighter smudges of color. These represent the occasional leaves and small clusters that catch sunlight as they emerge from the shadows. Not every leaf inside a dark area will be completely hidden from the light, and these brighter accents help create a much more natural and believable appearance. Next, I mix my darkest color, a combination of sap green with a small amount of black, and begin placing these accents throughout the canopy. Most of them are concentrated within the shadowy masses I established earlier. As you're applying these marks, keep in mind that they accumulate very quickly. It doesn't take long before hundreds of individual shapes begin competing for your attention, so be careful not to accidentally paint over details you've already established. This is exactly why I recommend focusing on one small section at a time. As I continue, I gradually introduce a wider range of green mixtures throughout the canopy. Some are warmer, some are cooler, some are darker, and others are slightly brighter. This variety is important because real trees rarely consist of a single shade of green. These subtle shifts in color help create the richness and complexity that make foliage feel alive. Once those midtones and shadows are established, I move on to my brightest mixture, a combination of yellow and white. I apply this color to the areas that will receive the strongest direct sunlight. These highlights become some of the most important focal points within the canopy. Before blending, I spend a little more time introducing additional touches of color throughout the tree. The goal here is to build enough variation and information on the surface so that the blending stage has something meaningful to work with. Now I clean and thoroughly dry my brush and begin blending. This next step is absolutely critical. Do not blend everything. One of the most common mistakes artists make is overblending their foliage. Instead of smearing every mark together, what I'm doing is selectively blending certain areas while leaving others untouched. Some of these smudges will softly merge into their neighbors, creating subtle transitions in color and value. Others will retain sharper edges and clearer boundaries. If you study a real tree, you'll notice the same combination everywhere. Some leaf clusters gradually fade into one another, while others stand apart with crisp, distinct edges. Both effects are necessary. The soft transitions create atmosphere and depth, while the sharper edges create structure and definition. When I first began placing these marks, it may have looked as though I was simply painting individual leaves. In reality, that's not what I'm doing at all. With oil paints, I'm thinking in terms of leaf clusters rather than individual leaves. All of these smudges serve as a foundation, a staging area of sorts. Through blending, they transform into larger groups of foliage that vary in shape, size, color, value, and edge quality. This is where the true strength of oil paint becomes apparent. Instead of rendering thousands of separate leaves, you're building interconnected masses that collectively create the illusion of a complex, realistic canopy. At this point, we need to allow this layer to dry, or at least become tacky enough that we can comfortably work on top of it without disturbing everything underneath. Once it's ready, I come back for the second pass on the foliage. Now I'm looking for any areas that still appear too flat or too uniform in color, and I continue building texture by adding another layer of leaf clusters. By this stage, most of the canopy is already covered, so some overlap with the previous layer is unavoidable. And that's actually a good thing. Rather than trying to preserve every individual mark, we're building complexity through layering. As these new smudges are added, many of them will connect with or partially overlap the previous ones. Those interactions create countless random patterns of light and shadow throughout the canopy. It's this gradual buildup of overlapping shapes that gives the foliage its richness and helps sell the illusion of realism. Before moving on though, there's one important adjustment I need to make. I want to add a little more foliage around the main branches. In nature, branches rarely remain fully exposed. Instead, portions of the canopy overlap them, causing sections of the branches to disappear behind clusters of leaves. Allowing the foliage to overlap the branches helps integrate everything together and prevents the tree from looking artificially constructed. With that established, I return to building the second layer of foliage. This time, however, my brushwork becomes even smaller and more deliberate than before. I'm really beginning to refine the finer details, so every mark is placed with greater precision. I'm constantly searching for shapes that appear too large, too uniform, or too predictable. Whenever I find one, I break it apart using slightly different mixtures of green, introducing subtle variations of color, value, and edge quality so that no two sections of the canopy feel exactly alike. This is one of the greatest strengths of working with oil paint. Because the paint remains workable for such a long time, you can continue stacking layers, refining shapes, and selectively blending portions of each new pass. Every layer contributes a little more depth, variety, and realism than the one before it. I won't sugarcoat it. This stage is extremely repetitive, but that's simply the nature of painting highly detailed trees. Realistic foliage isn't created with a few clever brushstrokes. It's a result of patiently building hundreds and sometimes thousands of carefully layered marks. The more time and attention you invest here, the more convincing the final result will become. Now let me show you where the real magic begins. Earlier, I applied a glaze over the canopy, but unfortunately, I lost that footage. Fortunately, I can still demonstrate what makes glazing such a powerful technique by applying a second glaze. I mix a bright green with a generous amount of medium, creating a very thin, transparent layer of color. Then I gently sweep it across the entire left side of the canopy. Instead of hiding the work underneath, this glaze subtly tints everything below it, enriching the colors, unifying the foliage, and giving the sunlit side of the tree a luminous glow that's difficult to achieve with opaque paint alone. Take a look at what that glaze just did. With a single transparent layer, it instantly transforms the canopy. The colors become richer, the leaf clusters begin to relate to one another, and the entire tree feels more unified. Now I'm going to work backwards for a moment by adding some negative space. During the earlier stages, I became so focused on building texture and detail that I neglected some of the openings within the canopy. That's perfectly normal. One of the advantages of working in layers is that you can always come back and make those adjustments later. Since we still have this wet layer of glaze on the surface, this is also the perfect opportunity to soften a few of these new edges. I could selectively blend portions of the canopy, creating even smoother transitions while preserving plenty of crisp details elsewhere. Now it's time for the final stage. After glazing, I always like to add one last layer of detail. Because the glaze was applied as one broad sweep of color, it naturally unifies the surface, but it can also make certain areas feel a little too uniform. To restore that variety, I begin placing a few darker leaf clusters and shadow accents throughout the canopy. These subtle additions break up the larger masses of color and bring back the contrast that gives the foliage its depth and character. Since I'm painting into a still wet glaze, these new marks blend effortlessly into the existing layers. The result is a surface that feels soft and atmospheric in some places, while remaining crisp and well-defined in others. That balance between soft and sharp edges is one of the qualities that makes oil-painted foliage appear so natural. And that's really the entire process. I didn't finish the right side of the tree because my goal wasn't to complete the painting. It was to demonstrate the technique. Hopefully you've seen enough to understand how I use oil paints to build a realistic canopy through layering, blending, and glazing. I hope you found this demonstration helpful and picked up a few ideas you could apply to your own paintings. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments, which medium do you prefer for painting trees, oils or acrylics?